House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer has alleged that the Biden administration covered up hundreds of bank violations for the Democratic Party's notable fundraising super PAC, Act Blue, saying the Treasury Department never responded to the committee's numerous inquiries about suspicious activity reports from the Democratic fundraising giant. Fellow Republican Andy Biggs, meanwhile, has called for the FBI under Kash Patel's leadership to investigate Act Blue, calling the allegations alarming and, if true, threatening to our country's integrity. Tony, I think this is definitely something that Republicans have been very concerned about, which is the fact that you have seen state-level investigations on this issue of potential fraudulent evasion. I mean, there are a series of problems with Act Blue that even some contributors aren't aware that they're giving additional money under a different name.
Well, that's the issue. They've been able to fund journalists, people who actually come on, like contributors, and then organizations which actually pay those contributors, think tanks. And they do this sort of thing through this shell game. And the biggest thing to me about Act Blue is what I think we're going to come to find regarding foreign money. I think we're going to come to find that they were taking money out of U.S. AID, putting it through as speakers' fees, as donations to think tanks, and that money was then coming back in as individual donations at some levels and grouped bigger donations of dark money to the Democrat Party. That's why we could never get ahead on our side.
Ambassador, 100%. I feel the same way. I think that the potential of China money, Russia money, this is going to be an entanglement that I think is going to hurt the Democrat Party.
100% I agree with you. I think people have to go to prison. Think about the smurfing, where they were literally running the money through these, in many cases, working class and retired Americans, and tens of thousands of dollars a year in tiny donation amounts. Yeah. So the banks are complicit. There have to be people go to prison on this. This is, I think, the biggest scandal that the Democrat Party has ever endured. I think that we have to have the investigations and follow the money.
Yeah, we'll see if they'll probably get away with it. But anyways, more deceit from the Biden administration. A report by the Heritage Foundation's Oversight Project alleging that several pardons issued during Biden's time in office were signed using an auto pen. Just look at the ones issued for controversial figures like Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, that's Chris's favorite, the January 6th committee, and other Biden family members on his last full day in office, all of which coincidentally have the exact same signature. The issue raises the question of who exactly was running the White House during Biden's cognitive decline. And since Daniel's a reporter and they all covered the mental cognitive decline of Biden. Oh, not really. Daniel.
Covered it up.
At least Biden wasn't signing. Remember, you were in the Bush White House.
I was
there was a big scandal when one of the top officials was signing, the auto pen. I think it was Donald Rumsfeld for casualty letters for Iraq, for American soldiers in Iraq, to their families, the condolence letters. That wasn't. That's even worse.
And you're still citing that, going back to Donald Rumsfeld, while glossing over Joe Biden's auto pen.
Yeah. I'm sure Biden was aware that he had pardoned these people.
No.
Really?
I don't know. I got to tell you,
on vacation.
In December of 2022, there were 6 criminal pardons, and it turns out it was all auto pen. He was in the U.S. Virgin Islands at the time, but the auto pen said that he was in Washington. So who was operating the auto pen?
Can I say one more thing about Act Blue? It's a little
Not
different.
about George W. Bush, but you can talk about Act Blue.
I had a scoop a few weeks ago about how even in November, even in December and January, Democrats who had signed up for recurring donations from the Harris Victory Fund were still getting monthly charged by this victory fund, which great victory.
That was
fund.
a good story.
Yeah.
And so maybe they'll look into that, because a lot of people, they don't always look at their credit card statements.
Yeah.
And if it's $15 here, you might not notice it.
That's right. So Kamala Harris lost, and they were still donating to Kamala Harris's campaign.
Wow.
And you still get emails from Harris and others, because they use these lists to raise tons of money.
I get them.
And since you brought up Act Blue again,
Big Harris supporter, right?
Of course.
I also want to mention that Act Blue received donations from Thomas Crooks, who shot President Trump through the ear in Butler, Pennsylvania. He was an Act Blue donor. And Ryan Wesley Ruth, who was arrested in Florida with a rifle in the fence line along President Trump's golf course. He, too, was a multi-time donor to Act Blue, just to give you some sense of what kind of membership they have.